Geminis are surprising everyone in these times around now, even themselves. I want to get into what the heck is going on. You feeling that surge for freedom and reinvention? I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Gemini September 2026 horoscope forecast. We're going to talk about the astrology for September, but quite a few of the factors I want to discuss started before now and will expand after now. But they're laying out themes that you will definitely be feeling very strongly at this time. And then we'll add in some more superficial transits that will blow by very quickly this month, so you're prepared for the astrological weather. This is for Gemini Sun, Moon, Rising, any Gemini placement you listen for. What we're going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. So let's start to build the story of the planet Uranus moving through Gemini. In 2025, Uranus first popped into Gemini and then quickly retrograded back into Taurus. And then in May of this year, Uranus got into Gemini to stay until 2032. So what we're talking about here is a long-term transit, but one of the reasons why it's of especially a notable conversation point right now is because Uranus is trining Pluto. Now this again has been an aspect that got strong a few months ago, and they're weaving in and out of close to exactitude in their most positive relationship that any planets can have in astrology, which is the trine. Now, since Gemini rules Gemini's first house when we do Gemini charts, if you are watching for your rising sign, then this will match your rising sign chart. If you're watching for your sun sign, it won't match the transits to your natal because this is a solar chart. But it's still a layer of your truth, and moon chart's the same. But whatever it is, there's this dimension of crazy manifestation of exertion of freedom. Gemini is suddenly cutting off long hair or dyeing it, losing or gaining weight, seeming physically different, completely changing wardrobe, completely, experimenting with styles that feel more authentic. Someone who might have identified themselves with their job, Geminis who are lawyers, or they have certain political designations or certain personality traits. They may suddenly realize that those labels feel really confining. And there is a certain element of what's going on here that will be amplified for May-born Geminis and early degree placements, like 0 to 10 degrees. But what I'm talking about here is not only true for that division. It just has an extra level of obviousness and consciousness and exertion now. But all of the Geminis are experiencing this feeling, this, intolerance to controlling relationships, this intolerance to rigid jobs or expectations, this refusal to be put in a box. There's some element of Gemini's personality that's like that anyway. But Uranus's presence here and this trine that's occurring now is making it more pronounced and helping you come up with positive solutions. And this is one of the most exciting things about this, is that Uranus on its own is a force that is volatile, it's disruptive, it's impulsive, but with another outer planet there stabilizing in a fellow air sign, some Geminis may be content to just talk about the changes that they want to make now, and that's okay. Getting it out in some way, expressing it, creating written or spoken or other works that sort of exert this forward-thinking, futuristic, even technological type of energy, because it's trining Aquarius placement with Pluto here. There's a reinvention going on. Your personality, you may have people say, gosh, you've changed. You may become more outspoken or more quiet and discerning. You may become more eccentric. You may become, more unhinged or letting loose, less apologetic. And a surprising level of independence may be shooting through your being to be expressed. There's definitely a willingness to challenge authority, But again, with this nice angle, it's like in a way that is productive. Uranus on its own is not always productive with what it's doing. It's fast, lightning fast. In fact, it rules lightning. But in this trine configuration, there's something almost stabilizing about it, where you're feeling the issue and then coming through to a constructive solution. Suddenly diving into things involving AI and space, astrology, quantum physics, things like neuroscience, aviation, things that just kind of broaden and get you out of the dimension that you're in. There can be unusual ideas on any front, spiritual or otherwise. Belief systems can shift suddenly. You can all of a sudden become known for something unexpected. Like you start some sort of social media that takes off, or you become an activist, or you invent something, or you switch careers and there's a high level of innovation, or you have amazing or genius ideas that you express. Now, at the same time as all this is going on, Mars is moving through Cancer and Ceres is there as well. This is activating Gemini's second house of money. So for August and September of this year, these are 2 months over the course of 2 years, it's been since this has happened, that you're especially focused on making money. You are motivated now to take the ideas you have, which before you may have been happy to just leave on paper, and you feel really rowdy and really ready to monetize those ideas and to do something where the energy is coming back and where you're doing something specific with it rather than just musing. Air signs are amazing conversationalists, and a lot of times they can keep the things they talk about in their intellectual space. And sometimes that's a good thing, where if someone's experimenting with strange ideas or volatile ideas or whatever, that just being able to talk about them is a way to express them. But there's going to be this drive for construction or constructive, active expression with this aspect. And it really may surprise you, including yourself, including everyone around you. Some people would describe what they're looking at in their lives as, I don't feel like I fit into my old life anymore. Not necessarily knowing what the new life would even look like, or maybe having sudden insights. There are roles and ways of being that are getting stripped away. And this is, like I said, a long-term process. And there are some elements of this that the Mayborns or early first third of the other, 0 through 10 degrees may be feeling a certain element of this more. And it may be more obvious, but it is going on for all of you. And this aspect is going on for all of you. And Uranus in the solar Gemini first house is all going on for all of you. So it's, this is happening for everybody. So there's this changing identity. There's this unconventionality. There's this brilliance. There's this eccentricity. There's this, sudden acting younger than one is, or sudden wisdom acting older than one is. A draw to be in contact with people that are different and make you think about things differently. Being involved with cutting edge fields. All of these things are zapping through your nervous system now. Definitely could interfere with sleep. You may need some supplements and, in some cases, maybe there's something medical going on that has to be sorted out. But, it's very unsettling to a nervous system that's already kind of zapping a lot. Anyway, Gemini has a very zappy nervous system, very kind of like electric. And this Uranus transit is going to make you more electric. You may shut off computers or interfere with electromagnetic devices when you're around. Appliances. So Uranus moving through the sign of Gemini. Gemini rules the third house. That's not the house that it's in for you, but it is the sign that rules that house. So that, coupled with the fact that the Pluto aspect of this aspect is in the 9th house, really points towards writing, communication, launching podcasts, writing books, publishing, speaking publicly, social media, learning languages, having, immersing yourself in a different language, moving to a country that wasn't even on your radar as an interest in learning a language. And Geminis tend to be quick thinkers already, but this is like amplifying the thought process. So this is, a very spontaneous, a very original, very surprising time. And If you have a Gemini close to you, it's really important. If you're watching for someone close to you, kudos to you. It's always amazing to know what's going on for the people in your life so that you can better connect with them. And if you're like the parent of a Gemini, like I am, and or if you have, other Gemini placements close to you, understanding what's going on really helps you to not take personally what's happening. Since Uranus is fleeting in its nature, I always suggest having a notebook to write down ideas, because you may have amazing ideas. And again, can be linked to money. And you may forget them. Even though you think they're so good, there's no way you'll forget. Sometimes the thoughts are coming a mile a minute. So if you write them down or put them in your notes in your phone or whatever, because there will be bursts of inspiration, racing thoughts, and maybe even this increased sensitivity to stimulation, like being overstimulated. So you're moving into a time where certain aspects of your life may be a little bit less predictable, and you may be the one instigating that. And, unexpected plans, not being able to be as reliable, saying yes to experiences that you wouldn't have said yes to before. Now, it's not that you have to deteriorate or burn the bridges of everything that you've worked for. And in fact, that's a good idea not to. And this aspect with Pluto can help you to have the wherewithal to not let this intense energy, mess things like that up for you. But you will need a little bit more of a radius around you for shifting changes. The idea of expectation is a really big one for Gemini at this point, and it's not just from this placement. It's also from the perspective of the faster moving planets like the Sun and Mercury, and in the days around September 10th, the new moon, all in Virgo. Virgo is an energy that is given to service, and expectations that someone has can match very much like duty bound or obligatory types of things. And this energy makes a square for Gemini. It's fundamentally different and not easy for Geminis to understand, because a lot of Geminis have a code of their own with these things. So the earthy nature, the grounded nature of the transits that are happening this month are calling for commitment, are calling for some base level of things that you can commit to. And even though you might want to break free of those things, figuring out which things you can commit to will not only help you keep your good relationships and make your relationships better, but it will also help you to have a grounding cord, because in this time, long-term period of great change, having certain things you do every day that you commit to as a grounding cord are going to help you even more than the things that you're helping in some ways, because you need a skeleton from which to animate the massive movement and excitement and expression that wants to happen. And it's the difference between you being a gelatinous lump and having a spine where you can, be an agile spine where you can move and flex around. That's kind of the imagery energetically. And as these Virgo placements are moving and this new moon is happening, bringing new moon blessings and setting of intentions and new moon wishes, that's in the area of your home and family. So you may be feeling a little bit restricted, a little bit bound by home and family obligations. Your house may feel a little bit heavy, and it's, it's going to be one of those things that you have to navigate. And just remember the things I'm talking about here. The goal is to not burn any bridges. The goal is to get the family support, help them to understand what's going on, commit to a base level of showing up of what you can do with the changes that you have, and find some grounding cords in your daily experience. Even pets, animals are ruled by Virgo. Things that you are doing that need attention every day are things that can give you this grounding cord. Now, while all of this is happening, we're also going to have a full moon in the days around September 26th. So the whole, from the 23rd, the last week of the month is really covered in this full moon at 3 degrees of Aries. And that's going to bring completion, fruition, fullness, drama, for better or worse, to the energy of your first house, because it's in Aries, and that is where Uranus is moving. But the actual house that it's happening in for Gemini is the 11th house. Okay, so just to be clear about that again. The full moon is in Aries. Aries rules the first house of charts. It's a foundational layer. It's yourself. It's all the things we were talking about here with Uranus moving through that first house for Gemini. But Aries is in the 11th house for Gemini. So that fullness, completion, fruition, drama, things coming to a head can happen in your friendship space, on your teams, in your groups, things that you're a part of. Maybe you're doing a group project and it's coming out then. Maybe there's something that's been pending and it comes to a head, for better or worse. Maybe there's an epic experience or a project or a networking situation or something that you're trying to work on that comes out then. And you've got a lot of long-term energy there in Aries, Neptune and Saturn. And these long-term transits are radically changing what your friendships look like and what your group dynamics look like. And so some questions may come up about that now. Now, on the same topic of things coming back from the past and questions, we're in a Venus retrograde cycle. Venus is moving through fellow air sign, this time Libra. And as of August 31st, the Venus retrograde shadow period began. In the month of September, we don't have any Mercury retrograde mischief, not until October. We do, however, still have possibly some drama, possibly some manifestations, possibly some wonderful things coming from that Leo eclipse we had on August 12th at 20 degrees. It was a solar eclipse. And just a few days before September started, August 27th, 28th, we had that lunar eclipse at 4 degrees of Pisces. So there are big things afoot from the eclipses as well. And, you know, that Pisces energy is really affecting your place out in the world, what you are doing with your life, job, employment, career, or the things you're doing out in the world that don't make money. If you're retired or whatever, you know, it's that money, your energy of authority figures and that type of thing in your life is still super activated and having manifestations. And you may be saying goodbye to a male type figure, or, you know, traditionally Saturn would be associated with male figures. It would be associated with father, kind of the skeleton of the family. And that's true in many cases still, but there are other people who have been a skeleton for you of whatever gender that, you know, may be exiting, or you may be going to a next level or a different chapter with them at this time. So all of that is also happening. And so there's a lot of change ahead, because 4 to 6 weeks before and after eclipses, we often see the news and the events. And this one just happened so recently, and the other one was just weeks before. So, you know, this is a very big change month. And it is in many ways a good month to make some decisions about some things. But if it's involving love and money and aesthetics and design, then you may want to not make big decisions and instead experiment, because Venus rules those areas. And we are going to have Venus goggles on. These are my very fashionable Venus goggles, where people are not seeing clearly in love and relationships and beauty and aesthetics and design and money and finances for the whole rest of the year. Every day we march into September, we get closer to the official retrograde, which happens pretty early into October. And you're not seeing clearly. I've got a massive amount of resources on Venus retrograde. If you go to the Secret Star portal, just go to secretstarportal.com. AI scraping has caused me to start the process of moving my hundreds of blogs that I've written over 20 years into my star portal. And I've written a massive amount on Venus retrograde. So if you want to really get this transit, understand the nuance, and be able to apply it to your situation from understanding, I would definitely suggest that, because it is a time where you could make big movements in those arenas that are not fixable. Especially Gemini is a little bit more susceptible to making these sudden changes right now. And, you know, you have to follow your intuition. There could be some other purpose for it. You know, everyone has their own flow. These are some factors that we're talking about here, but they're not the be all end all. But you are possibly not seeing clearly And so experimenting, doing things that are low stakes. If there's a high upside and a low downside, things like that are great. I'll be talking about it more each month as we move in, but just kind of have that on your radar. Now, the good news for Gemini is that right now, and then for a good bit of that cycle, Venus will actually be in Libra. It will go into Scorpio. It will retrograde partly through Scorpio, and then it will do the rest of the retrograde process and then go back all the way through Libra. And that will all make trines to Gemini's placements. So that's really exciting because there's a little bit more support, a little bit more benevolence, a little bit more good stuff coming from the past, a little bit more restoration of sanity in those arenas for you. Okay, so I've given you a bunch of dates. If you want my full sweet and salty dates list in another window right now, go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Unleash after you put your name and email address in, get my welcome letter, and click on the archive link. Then you will get just look for September 2026 Sweet and Salty report. Is for the best and worst aspects of the month. If you're trying to plan some things and understand when to have the umbrella out from the astrological weather being really off, I have everything there. And I write my own stuff still. This is not written by AI. So if you have a value for that, you will love it. If you are a late degree Gemini, so birthdays like June 15th through the rest of the sign, or 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign, I suggest you additionally listen to my Cancer report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. I'll see you next month. Bye.